Welcome back into CBS Sports HQ. Pete Prisco. It is that time of year with his mid-season All-Pro team. Taking a look at the offense there. Pete, let me ask you this, though, before we kick things off. What positions did you struggle with the most? Or names? We'll get into why in a minute, but...
The third receiver was a tough pick. There were a lot of good candidates there. I could have gone somewhere else at tight end, but there's a reason I picked George Kittle. And on the defensive side of the ball, there were a couple spots, particularly edge rusher, and I picked a guy who's not healthy, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues. When our producer was going through the list, I had some question marks because some guys are not playing right now. Pete Prisco, Leger Douzable, Danny Kanell, I'm Amanda Guerra. So let's dive into it. Let's start with the quarterback position. Lamar Jackson here could very well be looking at his third MVP. You didn't go with Josh Allen, though. You went with Lamar.
Lamar Jackson's playing at a level that he's never played at before in his career, and particularly throwing the football. He looks so comfortable in this offense, and it makes it look easy. And that was the big adjustment for him. How would he adjust to having Todd Monken calling the offense? And it took him a little while. He was good last year, but now he's phenomenal. And I think he's earned the right to be the starting quarterback on this team. And look, Josh Allen's having a big year too, but not quite what Lamar Jackson's doing.
Yeah, when I look at Lamar Jackson, it's kind of like that Burger King slogan, right? Have it your way. How do you want to lose against Lamar Jackson? To your point, how he's been able to play from within the pocket. Vance Joseph, the defensive coordinator for the Broncos this past week, all week long, I'm going to stop the run game. I'm going to stop the run game. You know what Lamar Jackson did? Perfect passer rating, 16 for 19 from within the pocket. To your point, Pete, he makes it look easy at times, and then when you try to take away some of the passing lanes for him, he's able to use his legs. He has over 500 yards rushing. So when you look at everything he's done, nearly 2,400 yards passing, 20 touchdowns, taking care of the football, only 2 interceptions. He's top 15 in rush yards at quarterback. He's playing at a different level this year.
He absolutely is. I totally agree with you. More comfort in the offense. You know what else? I mean, it feels like a cheat code when you give Derrick Henry him as well. Like this backfield, which has had injuries throughout his career almost the whole entire time. Now you give him one of the best backs in the history of the NFL paired with him, so that when you try to take away the run game, you have to load up the box to do so. All of a sudden, that opens things up in the pass game. It was a great signing for the Ravens. It was a great addition for Lamar Jackson. It's really opened things up, but I totally agree with you. He is seeing the field as good as anybody, picking people apart with accuracy, and we know what he can do with his legs. It's been awesome.
Should Patrick, I'm sorry, Ben. Should Patrick Mahomes be third on this list?
No, he shouldn't be on this.
What if they go undefeated?
So?
Yeah, but the way he played really well last week, but before that,
he's the game manager.
He's been managing this whole year.
He wasn't managing the other night.
Vegas is putting those numbers together.
Yeah,
they know who's going to cash in on them.
You know what? It pains Leger because it's Josh Allen right there with
you know, I've been giving Josh Allen credit this year. I've been giving him credit this year.
A lot of credit for Josh Allen. However, you went with Lamar there at the quarterback position, running back position, sticking with the Ravens. Derrick Henry. So I'm going to go to Danny.
Yeah. What are we doing? What are we doing here?
What are we doing?
Saquon Barkley. I think you could make the case that he has had a better year and a bigger impact on the Eagles. We just talked about Derrick Henry and the unfair pairing that he is with Lamar Jackson, which it does feel like a cheat code. We've seen the Eagles all of a sudden when they've relied more on Saquon Barkley, and he's paired with Jalen Hurts, who is not the same caliber of quarterback as Lamar Jackson, be able to make plays with both his legs and catching the football. That's what I think is a separator for him. Both of these backs are awesome. I do agree the margins are very, very slim, but what Saquon has infused the life into that offense, hurdling dudes backwards, catching the ball out of the backfield, and really just the dynamic runner that he is, where we get Derrick Henry's a little more of a power back at this point. Saquon Barkley makes more guys miss. I think he's the guy I would go with here.
He's no Swede Hansen. Did you see that graphic? I remember I covered Swede back in the day in the 30s.
I want to ask this question to you, DK. You said, you know, Jalen Hurts is no Lamar Jackson, which I would give you throughout this season. If you look at the rest of the roster, just offensively, which offense would you take? The Ravens or the Eagles by personnel?
I'd give the slight edge to the Eagles.
Okay, so what are you I mean, he has A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. He has an all-pro right tackle. I mean, Derrick Henry, a lot of people said he was done at 30 years old. Like, it's like he's found the fountain of youth. Any carry could go 60, 50, 70, 80 yards to the house. He's done that multiple times. For him to be leading the NFL in rush yards and rush touchdowns at 30 years old dispels everything my guy Pete Prisco says about running backs, right? He's found the fountain of youth. What he's done is astronomical. And yes, having Lamar Jackson in the backfield does open things up for you. But Saquon Barkley has the Avengers on offense, so of course he's going to have a really good season. I think to me, without a doubt, at the midway point, Offensive Player of the Year is Derrick Henry.
Not the MVP, so don't worry about that. It's a quarterback award now. Back then, when they run it, it wasn't. By the way, I always knew he knew more about football than he did.
I will say this. This was fun. I don't make a lot of great predictions, but I did think this would be the perfect pairing for Lamar and for Derrick Henry because Derrick Henry, for the first time in a long time, isn't seeing as many loaded boxes because he had awful, atrocious quarterback play in Tennessee, and he was still incredible. Now things open up, and we see truly how special he can be. So, yeah, I'm really upset about Saquon. Derrick Henry is not a bad option there.
All right.
Any final word about Derrick Henry over Saquon?
No, it was close. I'll be honest with you. That was a tough decision, but I went with Derrick Henry.
Let's look at the receiver position. You talked about that third receiver position being a little bit difficult here. Leger, so you went with Terry McLaurin. I'm going to start with you, though, because Pete's making up his own rules for this. We have a player who is out for the season. By looking at this, you can probably tell. Is he? No,
it's on the defensive side.
He's on the defensive side of the ball.
So, yeah, I put an injured player that's going to be out for the rest of the year, Chris Godwin. Now, I thought it was close with Terry McLaurin. His connection with Jaden Daniels has been really great. It's great to finally see Terry McLaurin with a true #1 quarterback that can get him the football. Love what he did last week versus the Giants in the red zone, outside the red zone, going up, high pointing the football on that fade route for a touchdown. But Chris Godwin was on a trajectory to probably have a career year, right? I know everybody talks about Mike Evans on that team. Just gutted for him in that injury. I thought he could potentially be on that list as well, but I'm not mad at the Terry McLaurin thing. I think Chris Godwin, to me, just deserves it a little bit more.
I love Chris Godwin, and he was mentioned as honorable mention. The reason I went with McLaurin over either of those two was yards per catch. You got one guy at 14.2 per catch. That's significant over Chris Godwin. It was close, but I decided to go with Terry McLaurin.
Which is interesting, right? Because usually Terry McLaurin's a possession, like intermediate route guy. So
Not with that quarterback.
I'm saying that says something about his connection with Jaden Daniels. Another guy that probably would have been on your list, Pete, if not for injury, Nico Collins.
That's
the
what
way,
I had.
the way he started the
season. Looking up his stats, I'm like, he's right there too.
The way Nico Collins, he was
injured player of the year award.
Yeah, he was literally on the trajectory.
This is the halfway All-Pro team, so you can have an injured player on there, and Nico Collins was in consideration as well. But McLaurin with that 14 yards per catch and the touchdowns, I think he got the edge.
Let's look at the tight end position here, going with George Kittle. With all those injuries on the 49ers offense, it's been up to him to carry it. Danny threw out Brock Bowers.
Well, again, because of the catches, and he was in consideration. Kittle has the most touchdown receptions from any tight end, and he's the best blocker. Let's be real. He's the best all-around tight end in the game. Brock Bowers has done amazing things. Yards per catch, better. Receiving touchdowns, better offense, fairness to him, better quarterback, fairness to him for Brock Bowers, but I went with Kittle.
That's why I had Brock Bowers in this conversation. I might have even put him over him because he's played with 3 bad quarterbacks throughout the season. Hasn't had a great receiving core around him. At least you've got a couple options when they're healthy around George
When they're healthy, they haven't been healthy.
When you've been able to spread it around a little bit more, better team, all of that, better environment, better system for Kittle. Bowers has been awesome. I was a little bit surprised at how much success he's had early in his career already. He is playing phenomenal lights-out football.
You know why? Because you saw the picture at the Super Bowl.
I got
you're talking about him.
Yes.
How about one other guy, Trey McBride? I mean, I love what the Arizona Cardinals have done. He has almost identical numbers to George Kittle. George Kittle has, I believe, 1 or 2 more receiving touchdowns, but he even scored on a speed sweep last week. I think people need to start talking about Trey McBride in this conversation because he's essentially become almost the #1 weapon for the Arizona Cardinals, has a real rapport with Kyler Murray. I like this young tight end.
Staying close to home with the left tackle position, going with Trent Williams here. Danny, one of his runner-ups, Wirfs, was there. That's who I think, Danny, you
I would have given a
liked
slight edge to over him, for what he's done, locking down that left side for Baker Mayfield. I think he's one of the best young players of the league. Williams getting up there a little bit in age. I would have given the slight edge to Wirfs.
I'm surprised you didn't put Darryl Saul on this list.
Well,
he's injured, but I'm like the way he was playing though.
But the 2 best tackles right now, or the 3 best tackles right now playing, and Darryl Saul wasn't playing to that level, are Wirfs and Williams and Slater. But you know why I picked Williams? Because he's better in the run game. Wirfs is probably better right now in pass protection. Williams is really good in the run game, and he's the more rounded of the 2, so that's why I went with Trent Williams. It was close.
It was close there. The next position is the edge position, and we were talking about picking somebody who's not playing anymore, out for the season, Aiden Hutchinson. I was checking, it went out all the way back in week 6. So why Aiden Hutchinson in this
Well,
position?
he's still one of the league leaders in sacks. He's still one of the league leaders in pressures. I mean, his numbers have held up. He was on his way to be the defensive player of the year.
Which is wild. We're going into week 10 and he's still there.
And you look at the edge position, you look at some of the usual suspects, their numbers aren't as good.
Correct.
They're down. You know, you look at Myles Garrett, his sack numbers are down, and T.J. Watts,
Crosby,
and Crosby. So in the end, I decided, look, Hutchinson's not going to be on the end of the year All-Pro team, but
he can sit right now.
He's earned the right to be on the midseason All-Pro team.
Yeah, I know you had Trey Hendrickson as runner-up, but I would have put him on this list.
He got 4
I know he
last
had
week.
4, but I mean, before that, you still was like top 5 in sacks, though.
Yeah.
And you got to think, when you talk about T.J. Watt, look at the cast around him. Like, everybody can rush the passer. When you talk about Hayward being there, even Nick Herbig, who is hurt right now, but Highsmith came back, had a couple of sacks. And then they just went and got Preston Smith, too. So, like, when you look at the Bengals team, you know the one guy you have to stop is Trey Hendrickson, and yet people still can't do it. And on top of that, their defense has been abysmal. So you got to think, they've been playing a run a lot because they've been down in games. And for him to still be up there, and now he's leading the lead in sacks, I think Trey Hendrickson belongs on this list.
Can we send Aiden Hutchinson like some little... Like a bobblehead of you? Congratulations.
He was going to win Defensive Player of the Year, and now he's not going to do that. Yeah.
I still think we should find something to send him just for you. Let's go to the cornerback position. Leger, you had a couple issues there, and you have a couple issues in this one. Pete, you like Zion McCollum making it. Leger, you think there's some better options.
He's been wrong about Zion McCollum all year, and he will not admit it.
He's played well this year. I would say he's played well this year. I would say the Ravens game and the Falcons game, I don't think anybody from that secondary played well.
He did, and he's actually been one of the best corners in this league.
So I don't have a gripe. I think DJ Reed, and this is not me just being a Jets fan, because you've even admitted DJ Reed has played
and he was
really well. No, you saw him as a runner-up. I know people will always talk about Sauce. You know me, I've been a big proponent of saying this. Like, don't take anything off DJ Reed. People wonder why Sauce doesn't travel, because DJ Reed is a hell of a corner, and this year he's proved that he's one of the best corners in the league, and he's doing it at the right time. He's about to be a free agent as well, so I know DJ Reed doesn't have the interceptions, but as far as man-to-man coverage, he's been one of the best in the league this year.
This is one of those players, when you look at it, and people look at the All-Pro, and they go, McCollum, what? He's earned the right to be on this team. He's played that well. And a lot of corners haven't. Sauce Gardner being one of them.
He has not played well.
He's not played as well. Yeah. So I think this is a spot for a guy that earned the right to be there, and most people don't know who he is.
Are you cool with it?
I'm cool with it.
You're cool with it. Biggest snub then. What do you think, Danny?
I went with a guy that was not listed. Now, I know it's not the starting position, but Baker Mayfield, I thought, has played his way into the honorable mention, and I would have taken Joe Burrow out. Both of them have identical records at 4 and 5. Baker Mayfield has a higher completion percentage. He's got more touchdown passes, leading the NFL with 23.
More picks.
I know that's been a struggle for City.
He's got a lot of interceptions.
For sure. But I think he's also on a team that's not as good either. So I would take Baker Mayfield.
Baker's in that. I probably should have put him on the honorable mention.
I was surprised that linebacker didn't put Frankie Louvu in at least honorable mention. I think the way he's obviously Wagner's played out of his mind. He's kind of found the fountain of youth, just like Derrick Henry has. But Frankie Louvu, for what he's been tasked to do for the Washington Commanders, not only playing inside linebacker, but then rushing off the edge. I mean, the kid has 4 sacks, 54 tackles. He also has a couple forced fumbles and a couple PBUs. I think he's played at a All-Pro level this year as well.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby Wagner's been so darn good for that defense. And by the way, I did not see that one coming. And I thought, you know, they'd get a veteran in there. He'd be a nice guy, but he's been outstanding.
He's been really good
for that defense. That's why I put him on the team. And Fred Warner is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Once you hit send and send it over to the website for it to publish, anything you wish you could change?
No.
No? You did a
He
lot of
never
work.
has regrets. He would never admit it, man.
If Baker Mayfield on the honorable mention, maybe that's the one.
You've had a lot of work this week. You had your midseason awards here.
Yeah,
and then you
trade
had your power
deadline.
rankings, the trade deadline.
Yeah, it's been a busy week.
It's the week of Pete Prisco.
Yeah, there we
Check
go.
him out on HQ.